Hey there, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. Today I've got a really special book that I picked up at San Diego Comic Con from the Fanfare Ponant Mon booth. This is a book by Frederick Boilet and Benoit Peeters. I know Benoit Peeters very well from his collaborations with Francois Scoiton on the Obscure Cities book, so I was really excited to see this. This is called Tokyo is My Garden, and it's in collaboration with Jiro Taniguchi, who's Walking Man. We've talked about a number of times, especially myself and Brandon Graham on the channel have talked about Walking Man really influencing us. I'm a huge fan of Taniguchi stuff, which is all released by Fanfare Ponant Mon. I don't have all of it, but I have a lot of it, and so I was really excited to see that Taniguchi was part of this book with Peeters as well, because these are people I really admire. Now, this is my first exposure to Frederick Boilet, but now a huge fan of his as well. So you basically got like a rock and roll supergroup coming together to make a really, really straightforward adult drama in this book. And that's really exciting to me. And then the story is well done. The art's really great. The art is by Boilet. So the story is a pretty simple, straightforward drama. You've got a guy named David, he's French and he's living in Tokyo, and he's representing a cognac company. He's trying to grow their brand, and he's been there for a few years and hasn't really had any success. But he's falling in love with this Japanese woman. Well, he meets her and falls in love with her, Kime, and then he's worried that he's going to have to leave because his boss is coming to town, and he's going to have to show him that he hasn't really sold anything, or try to convince him that it's worth continuing on. That's basically the thread of the story. So I like that. That's like a real world problem, and it's really well written, and there's tension within it, even though there's not like superheroes blowing stuff up. This is the kind of book I'm looking for, that I want to make, that I want to read. The art's really, really great. The pages like this, where it's just buildings and the kind of abstract motions of the building, are beautiful. There's some Paul Pope vibes to it, kind of the combination of like American and European and the Japanese comics all coming together. Jiro Taniguchi, I was really curious what Taniguchi's contribution to the book was, and what Taniguchi added to it was the tones. So he went over Boilet's pen and ink art and added all of the tones, and I'm assuming it's by hand. It doesn't look computer done. So that's really cool. It brings that Japanese flavor, like the way the Japanese would use the tones, the way Taniguchi does use the tones in his books, and then maps them on top of this more photorealist style. It's pretty abstracted still, but I didn't fully read the introduction, but you can tell they're talking about that the artist like really, really likes to represent the real, so he works from photographs, and you can see that. The other kind of artistic references I could see, the similarities, someone else that people are maybe more familiar with is Michael Gaydos, that did the Jessica Jones stuff with Brian Bendis, and is now doing the Pearl series, which also has a lot of Japan and Tokyo in it, because it's dealing with the Japanese Yakuza in San Francisco mostly. Similar, like, photo referenced, but really big, chunky brush marks. It's not getting too fine with it. I think that's a good reference for this book, but then you have, like, the black and white with the manga tone over top of it, and you get this look. And I really like it. At first, I was a little hesitant about it, like it felt a little bit stiff maybe for me, but as I got into the flow of the book, it became more loose and calligraphic feeling. One thing that I noticed, that as someone who also works with a lot of photo reference, something that I really actively try and get rid of when I'm working with photos now, I don't know that I've always done it, but these like minor lens distortions of a camera, which are actually closer to how the eye really sees anyways, but where you get like a mild 3-point perspective, it's not completely off-putting in panels like that. It gives some sway to the imagery. But there's certain images like this one here where there's a 3-point perspective. That one, it seems intentionally 3-point. But there are certain drawings throughout the book where it's just like so slight that to me it's a bit it like lines up with the edges of the panel funny, and that's something I try and correct in Photoshop. Like this one, I would have, like I said, maybe it gets the sway of it, but there are examples throughout the book where things could have just stayed like straight. And I'll go personally. I'll go. This is another one that bends a little bit at the corners just because it's a wide scene. Like I would have gone and straightened that out. I feel like it just gives more stability and flow and looks a little bit more classic maybe to have that effect taken out. It's like you're giving away the photographicness of the source a little bit too much. And even though obviously I work from photographs in what I did, like on Strange Death of Alex Raymond and a lot of the work I do, you're always kind of wanted bringing it back to cartooning, I think, so it doesn't look too stiff. And that's one of the cues that gives away photo reference to me. Or people that are working with we never looked at it on the channel, but people that are working with some like 3D modeling programs, sometimes when you place the cameras in those, they don't stick to a strict like 1-2 point. They'll look like 3 point. So that's the only thing that bothered me with the art in the book. Other than that, I really liked it. Speaking of cartooning, one of the other risks that you have to take when you're working with models is, can you get a model who will make good faces and make like overly exaggerated expressions? So that kind of throughout the book, some things just seem like, oh, I went and like just kind of directed someone and photographed them and they're a little stiff. And then there's other ones like this where you feel like the actor that he was using as his model really kind of got into it and did some acting. I would say you could over exaggerate that even more. And then here he gives a nice, good, funny face. So this page right here, all of a sudden I went, oh, there you go. You've got a guy who's like really acting. The rest of them, they're fine. They're not too stiff. One of the ways I deal with that is I have people actually, and I don't know how Boilet deals with this. Like there's a really good expression too, but I'll have people act through something and then take a series of photographs, real quick on like an action clip, and that gets people in motion. Like here, these girls dancing, that feels like they were actually dancing. Sometimes it's tempting to have people standing around just like, okay, hold that pose, and that could look a little stiff. But I never noticed that in this book. It seems like he's capturing people on the go. So for people who are interested in doing books in this style, that's something I would recommend. You're taking photographs, have your model actually go through and snap off like 10 photos in like 2 seconds or something, and you'll get more fluid results on the final page. And don't be afraid to have them ham it up. And then I thought this was a really beautiful sequence. They're both really drunk. He's been taking his boss out and they've been drinking sake, and they're both really drunk, and it's like kind of monsoon raining, and so he's trying to get back into the station. David's trying to get back into the station. There's all this rain coming down. It almost looks like an explosion going off, but it's just like all the wind and rain. And I really like when the art gets looser like that. Another person that the art kind of makes me think of, another more popular reference would be Paul Azcateca, who did Outcast with Robert Kirkman. It kind of has those vibes as well. So yeah, I don't want to spoil the ending of the book. They definitely play throughout the book with the idea that the French always have unhappy endings to their story, and the Japanese, Kimi especially, wants to have a happy ending to her story. So there's tension building throughout the book, like because of conversations that the characters have had, wondering like, is this story going to end well? Is David going to continue to be able to stay in Tokyo and date Kimi, or is he going to, his boss is going to come and realize he hasn't really done much for the company yet, and so he's going to have to go home. So I won't spoil that, because I would definitely recommend going out and getting this book for yourself. I think, like I said, it's a really rare thing in which you get like a super group. You have kind of 3 uber creators coming together from, especially from different countries, and kind of mixing the flavors of how they approach things. I think that's really exciting. Also, since I've been paying so much attention to pacing, this is definitely like got more American or European style pacing. It's a 150 page book, which is probably a little bit longer than most European 48 page pieces, but it has that type of pacing. There's not a lot of the Japanese like aspect to aspect type of stuff, or really slow moment to moment type of glancing around at expressions. So that's cool because it still has a real Japanese flavor. I would actually like to see this kind of art with the tone and everything, but with that manga pacing too. I think that would be really cool. That's something, if I had more time, I would maybe set out to do it myself, but I don't know that I'll ever have time. This is a really Paul Pope to me. All of that loose brushwork in the background, and then coming into their kimonos here. Yeah, so there's a lot going on in here. It's a real great book. I would definitely suggest picking it up. And the guys that we talked to at the Fanfare Pontemon booth were just really great guys. They actually gave me this book for free. I bought one other book by Gilad Selectar, Farm 54, which I've reviewed, and I was going to pay for this one, and he just gave it to me for free. Impeccable reproduction, just really, really beautiful work that they do. So yeah, definitely support them. If you want to support us here on the channel, the best thing you can do is buy the books that Sean has out or coming out from Living the Line. We'll go ahead and take a look at some of those now. Eric Creek's The Exile, which has been described by the artist as his Viking Western. It's a really intense story of revenge, rendered with this beautiful pen and ink style, and then these couple of spot colors that were also done in layers on ink and then converted into color. So that's just a really, really beautiful book, and a really intense story. There's also Yokoyama Yuichi's Plaza, which is a totally intense manga by an artist who has somehow figured out how to distill manga down to its purest essence. This book was successfully funded on Kickstarter, but if you missed the Kickstarter, you can order it through any comic store, any bookstore, Amazon, any place that you would normally get your graphic novels from. Thanks for following along. Take it away, Jack.
What?